Hello, welcome back, and today I'm gonna just be having my 2020 year in review. Honestly, I know 2020 hasn't been the best year for a lot of people with, let's just say, everything going on and just leave it at that, but honestly, for me specifically, I think I've been having a good 2020, at least on a, I guess, business musical artist side. The best part about being a small artist is that any improvement from the last year is still super big for me, and I'm super happy about it. But before I can get into 2020, I just want to talk about December of 2019 real quick with my EP Adrift. And honestly, I'm super happy about it. I mean, it was only 4 songs. I hoped for one more to be put on there, but I couldn't think of anything, and I wasn't gonna force something, so that's what it was. With Elation, Three's a Crowd, Lullaby, and Adrift, it was just super fun and I loved it. And I start with that because my 2020 started with my music video for Adrift. At the time of writing, I think it got to just about 650 views on YouTube, which is really big for me because it seemed more authentic. It was, I'd say, the second time I did an ad on YouTube, but this one wasn't before a video plays this time. It was a recommended, I believe. And honestly, I think it made it much better. The first time was with my Elation music video, and though that one got 11,000 views within the week or two that I did that, it didn't seem as authentic as the 650 that I got with Adrift, but I'm happy that it got that far. Alright, and then we move on to February, where I released Goodnight Panda. That was one of the first lo-fi songs I released on Spotify and everywhere. I've been making lo-fi probably for the past year or two, year and a half I think, but it wasn't until, Goodnight Panda where I decided to put it on Spotify. At first I didn't know if making lo-fi would have been good enough to put on to the platforms, but then I started thinking, hey, this could be possible sources of income and more people would actually get a chance to listen to it. Not everything I do is for money, but it's good to have that in the mindset. But I'm just excited that people actually do seem to like it. In March, I released my first lo-fi EP, Dreamscape, 4 out of the 5 of which were completely original, and the 5th one was just I don't want to say reharmonization, but I was using a Brahms piece, I believe. I cannot remember the name, but it was using that chord progression and melody, and then I just added my own drums and bass line underneath it. But it still is doing very well, and overall it seems to be the lo-fi thing was working out for me. Though after March, I'm not going to say I completely stopped with that, for I was writing a bunch of things. I wanted to try to release an album by the end of this year, and though I did, it wasn't what I was planning on initially. It was going to be something that had half lo-fi, half my old stuff Adrift, Elation, and all that other things. But I wasn't making anything that sounded like I was putting a lot of effort into it. It was just a bunch of things that just sounded like I threw things to the wall and then was just going to write on top of it to hope it sounded good. So I put that album idea to the side, but I kept the lo-fis to release Aura, but I'll get to that in a second. Anyways, so after Dreamscape, like I said, it was a couple months of writing, and in June, I released my Adrift remix. Now, if I could do a remix of Adrift again, I would, but I really like kind of the 8-bit game retro style. I think that's how I want to describe it, so I'm going to stick with it. I like the sound of that. It was really, really fun to try to make. It was my first remix that I did, especially of one of my own songs, so I was iffy on how it was going to go. I definitely would do a bunch of things different, probably try to have more of a EDM actual feel to it rather than just making everything sound more 8-bit, but I still like how it sounds to this day. I think it is a good remix idea. I know that if I had the chance to do it again, I know I would definitely end up doing it much differently. A month later, in July, I released my cover of Walk. Now, at first, I was like super iffy about doing that because I've never done anything vocally with like my actual voice before. Because Adrift, I did sing on that, but it was through my vocoder. So it was like not me, but it was me. But this all me, like pretty much I did all the guitars, the bass. I midied in the drums because I can't play drums. Actually, I think I midied in the bass because I didn't have another 5-string and the one I had was broken. Either way, I did all of that and it came out really well too. It seemed like a lot of people who heard it liked it. So I might do more things like that in the future. Again, get back to that later. Anyways, but yeah, and so after doing those two, it seemed like I was inadvertently starting like a song a month thing. So it was going to be Ocean Eyes, then Swelter, then Vacuous, then The Chase, and then it ended with me putting out my Aura album. Now, all of those songs, it was really fun doing something more EDM style, doing something, you know, kind of more, I say experimental, but there is no logic in any of the experimental things I did, except for the program. And The Chase was really fun to try to write something that was more cinematic and movie feeling, like feeling like a movie. Overall, all of that was really fun to make. Now going back to what I said about the half and half stuff. So, like I said earlier, I wanted to write at least an album by the end of this year, hopefully, that was half lo-fi, half like my other stuff. But as I said, I wasn't feeling the stuff that wasn't the half lo-fi part. So I thought, you know, then let me just keep writing some like lo-fi experimental stuff. And when I say experimental, I definitely mean just I was putting a chord progression, like extended chords and whatever, and then I was changing the time signature. I was just picking random time signatures to try to get different sounds. That's actually how Late Night was written. I was trying to write something like Ludens for Feed Me to the Wolves, but I couldn't think of anything, couldn't think of a single way how to like progress it to be more of a metal feel. So then I kind of just progressed it my own way. And honestly, it's my favorite song on Aura. And for like a good majority of it, that's like what it is. Like some of the weirder sounding stuff, that's pretty much what happened. Other stuff was just straight like, you know, common time signatures, just choosing a nice sounding chord progression and making a nice melody or choosing nice vocal chops to use. Aura was really fun to make. As of recording, it has 1,659 streams, and it's only been out for about like 2 weeks, a week and a half, somewhere about, about a week and a half, 2 weeks at this point. So I count that as a win. And so that was my personal music for all of 2020. I'd say other milestones include me opening a Teespring store to actually sell merchandise, because I've just had so much fun actually designing stuff, putting it on. I'm learned a lot this year. Oh my god, it's getting so fun to actually keep making music. I'm finding the more and more reasons to keep doing this, and it's super fun. I'm feeling really good about all of it so far. So the next thing I have to work with is Feed Me to the Wolves. But back in April 2nd, we released our first album, Take Me Away, a year after we released the single. Initially, we weren't going to do that, but I remember I just made a joke, and I said, if we're gonna call it Take Me Away, we should jokingly release it on April 2nd. And then me and the vocalist thought that that was actually a really good idea, so we just did, and boom. We also released a new song about a month ago called My Agony Part 2, which is gonna be on a new EP next year, or album. We're now thinking about whether or not we're going to just try to write another album or an EP, along with releasing a bunch of other stuff. We have a lot of things in the works. It is a lot to do, but fun to do for sure, especially because I'm still getting more and more practice each and every song, each and every project, album, EP, whatever. It's always super fun. I believe that is all. Now, back to the other thing I said about my wall cover, I think I might want to do more and more things like that in the future in 2021. I do have a new side project in the works. I don't want to give anything away. We've recently started actually recording an EP, and a couple covers, so you know, hopefully around February to April we'll get more of that out, more of an EP out before the end of the year, and possibly a music video or two. So I have my side project, Feed Me to the Wolves, and I'm still hoping to possibly release my own solo EP of more instrumental music, not like lo-fi, by the end of 2021. I just want to say, I want to make some big gains through 2021, and to everybody who's listening to everything I put out, giving it a chance, and I don't know, saving some to like playlist or whatever, enjoying it on a daily or semi-regular basis. I just appreciate everything you do. It helps me out. It helps me know that I'm doing something at least somewhat worth my time. And honestly, the little bit of validation gets me going, keeps me going through and through, to know that's why it's worth it. So I appreciate all of you, and I hope that everybody has a great 2021. All right, peace.